Welcome into the Solo Shot Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Dom Manna. No, this is not the beautiful ETV studios behind me. I am actually on my last day of vacation over here in Rosemont. Happy Solo Shot Saturday, everybody. We are over 2,000 Solo Shots strong. Thank you to everybody who's been following on TikTok at Solo Shot Sports. It's been really fun giving you those updates every day or so with how the Solo Shots keep racking up. And, of course, those of you that follow me on TikTok saw the Babe Ruth bat that I got to hold here at the National Sports Collectors Convention. I had an absolute blast, but holding a piece of history like that was really freaking awesome. Truly a sports fan highlight that I will remember for the rest of my life, getting to hold the Bambino's bat. So I hope you all enjoyed that and checked it out there as well. We're really approaching this August 1st trade deadline. I mean, it's coming up real fast. There's a lot of teams that we thought would be selling that aren't selling, a lot of teams that are selling that we're kind of shocked, buying that we're kind of shocked. But the August 1st trade deadline is here pretty much, and we have to look at these trades. My Red Sox, I told you before they started playing well that they should sell. This isn't a good division to be going all in for when you're more than one piece away. And they trade Kike Hernandez, a guy that really doesn't have a spot, to the Dodgers, put him back in his home where he's comfortable. Maybe that'll be the kind of rejuvenation he needs. I'm sure he'll be playing like an all-star again. He's been struggling this year because they've been forcing him to play shortstop a lot in Trevor Story's absence. He's someone that can be a gold glove center fielder, a guy that's utility, play in the middle infield when needed. I think that that's a great get for the Dodgers. They also got a real shortstop in Ahmed Rosario from the Cleveland Guardians. So the Dodgers getting a couple guys that can defend at multiple positions and maybe can wake up with the bat, as we've seen Jason Hayward and David Peralta and these guys kind of rejuvenate themselves wearing that Dodger blue and having a great old time. But the move that I think was more exciting is the teams that are on the fringe. You know, you see the Milwaukee Brewers. Rowdy Tellez was struggling when healthy. Now he's hurt. And Carlos Santana comes over from Pittsburgh, a switch hitting guy. He's hitting very well this season for a guy that's in his 30s. And you get him for a shortstop prospect that isn't top 10 in your system. The Miami Marlins, they go and get David Robertson, the reliever from the Mets. And that was a really fun thing to see because the Marlins never buy. They are always the routine sellers at the trade deadline. So David Robertson going over to the Marlins, helping them. They have a great starting rotation, bolster that bullpen a little bit, add to those guys that they have over there. Lance Lynn and Joe Kelly come home to the Dodgers as well. That was really fun. The White Sox were the only team that I knew for a fact was going to sell because they had a lot of pieces and they were out of it. Joe Kelly, everybody remembers, he had the kind of puckering face when a player was complaining about a strike three call. That kind of went viral. So seeing him back there will be really fun. Lance Lynn, a guy that can eat innings for the Dodgers and really get things going. And a really sneaky move because the Astros actually tried to acquire this man a few years back, but the White Sox beat him to it. And that's Kendall Graveman from Houston, going to Houston from the White Sox for catcher Corey Lee prospect. Kendall Graveman has an amazing sinker and could be an absolute bullpen weapon for the Stros down the stretch as they try to compete with the Rangers in that daunting AL West. But the move that everybody was surprised by was the Angels getting Lucas Giolito, who was definitely going to get moved, and relief pitcher Ronaldo Lopez from the White Sox. Yes, the Angels bought. They did not sell. They have been playing well. They're back in the wild card race. And man, I don't think this is the best decision from a logistics standpoint, but if you're a fan of the Halos, seeing your owner double down and try to make this playoff push to try and hopefully extend Ohtani in the offseason, you got to feel really good about that splash. Giolito, he has ace potential, but you just need quality innings if you're the Angels. I mean, your lineups has so many injuries, and you've still been able to win all these games, put up these lopsided scores. I mean, the Angels really just need some consistency, and I think Giolito can provide that. Lopez, another guy in the bullpen. If you're trying to make the postseason, you can never have enough weapons out of the pen. Moving things over to first base here. Falling in, falling out. We talked about the Angels who have been falling in to playoff contention so far, and the way that goes is trying to make the wild card, because catching up to Houston and the Rangers is kind of unrealistic for them at this point. I think that more likely so, they are trying to consistently get that wild card. They're 6 games back in the division, so never say never. If Ohtani starts throwing complete games every time he's out there and Giolito becomes the ace potential that they thought they were getting from him when they traded for him from the Nationals, maybe that 1-2 punch helps the Angels actually get into the division race. But they're pushing into the playoff picture, which is really awesome to see. Falling out would have to be the Detroit Tigers. That AL Central kind of had 2 teams that were out of it, with the Royals and White Sox, and the Tigers were sneaky in it for a while, but it looked like they were still a year away from seriously contending. They need to sell off their pieces. They're falling out. The Guardians and the Twins, it's clearly a 2-team race now in the Central. Falling in, my Boston Red Sox. I didn't think that this was going to be possible this season. The fact that they're 7-3 in their last 10, they're playing competitive baseball against the Atlanta Braves. Like, this Red Sox team, being able to trade a Kike Hernandez, a leader in that clubhouse, and still be able to move forward and be productive, get things out of young guys like Tristan Casas and Jarren Duran, Brian Bayo looking like a young ace. I'm excited. I don't know if they make the playoffs, but they're going to be in that wild card picture. And when your team is competitive at the end of the season, that's all you can really ask for. You just don't want them to be out of it in July, like some of these teams that we've seen. And falling out, the New York Yankees. I mean, Aaron Judge is hopefully going to come back and right the ship, but the fact that they are falling deeper and deeper into last place in this division, they don't have to really worry about us. They should be worried we're ahead, but they really should be worried that the fact that the Blue Jays are great and the Rays and Orioles are legit World Series threats, and the Yankees, the pinstripes, the consecutive winning seasons, the playoff streak. I think the Yankees really need to turn things around, and I'm surprised that they haven't bought anything significant at the deadline. They're just really worried about that luxury tax, and it's awesome to see a scoreboard in the AL East where the Yankees, who have traditionally been the top team, be on the bottom. I think if you throw it back to the 2010s and you look at the standings being Orioles, Rays, Blue Jays, Red Sox, Yankees, I think if you go back to those 2010 years, late 2010s, you could probably flip that whole division upside down. So it's great to see the competitiveness and the fact that all these teams have winning records. I mean, it's going to be fun to watch down the stretch, regardless if the Sox make the playoffs. But really great baseball, falling in and falling out of the playoff picture. There's still a lot of baseball left to be played. There's still a few days to make a last-minute move that could change your season. A guy coming back from injury that could light the fire. Yordan Alvarez and Jose Altuve have been doing that for the Astros, building some steam there in the AL West, coming back from injury. But really, the talk of all of this trade deadline was Shohei Ohtani and the Angels have elected to go down with the ship. They would rather him walk for one compensatory pick and say they tried, and they're trying, than just take a package and give up on this season. They spent a lot of money this offseason, bringing in veterans like Gio Urshela and Hunter Renfroe, Tyler Anderson. But this team really going in and getting Lucas Giolito, when Mike Trout's out, when they've had injuries to Zach Neto, Anthony Rendon, etc., this Angels team just does not want to say die. And I know that Shohei Ohtani is an absolute moneymaker. He feels comfortable there. The media presence is enormous for him. But he said multiple times that he wants to be in a place where he can win consistently. He wants to be in an organization that values winning. And the Angels, up until the final hour, have not been that organization. Now, will 4 years of catering to him and being nice count for something? Absolutely. But those first 4 years where they were not trying to win on a consistent level, I don't think that the 1 year of them trying will necessarily keep him in a Halos uni. Shohei Ohtani, at this point, you're going to test free agency. You're going to see what's out there. You're going to see the pitches. You're going to see how other organizations are run, how they view you, how they value you. The Angels have no problem throwing around money. They paid Albert Pujols a ton. They paid Mike Trout a ton. They gave Anthony Rendon a bag. Justin Upton, CJ Wilson, Josh Hamilton. They have given out plenty of major contracts. But Shohei Ohtani is going to trump all of the above. And the fact that he is a two-way player, a guy that just threw his first complete game in the big leagues, 111 pitches they let him throw. The Angels are also noting that he might be gone at the end of the year, even with their best efforts. So they are putting the foot on the gas. They are using him much like the NFL does when there's a contract year running back. They run him into the ground. The Angels are trying to squeeze every juice of Ohtani they can to get to the playoffs and hope that he stays with them. And man, if you're a Halos fan, you have to feel good that your season's not done, that you still have a chance to keep Ohtani, because if you traded him, there's no shot he's coming back. But from a logistics standpoint, you have a team with a bunch of 1 or 2 year deals. You have a team that has a lot of injuries this year. They're playing great. Shohei Ohtani is healthy. But if you keep making him pitch 111 pitches, is he going to be ready for October baseball? Because that's what we all want to see as baseball fans. I said that at the very beginning when they were talking about, we'll give it a couple weeks and then we'll decide if we're going to shop him or not, is every single baseball fan out there should be wanting to watch Shohei Ohtani play in October. Play in some meaningful playoff games. And whether that's with the Angels or a team that trades for him, I think that is really the biggest win for baseball fans, is if they're playing in the playoffs, playing meaningful games. So now I have to root for the Angels to actually stay consistent and get one of those wild card spots, because there is so many things that can go wrong and not a lot of things that can go right. I think that it's very important that we temper expectations with the Angels. We've seen it before. They've went on stretches and they've fallen out when the months start getting cold. The cool boys up in Anaheim don't seem to play as well. They kind of are ready for the offseason. So I'm hoping that there's an energy around it. I'm hoping that Mike Trout can come back and be a part of it. And this team is really starting to look like something where they bring in Eduardo Escobar as a cheap buy. They bring in Lucas Giolito. They're truly viewing themselves as contenders, and at least that is more than what they have been doing for the previous decade, wasting the best player of the 2000s in Albert Pujols' second half of his career, wasting Mike Trout, the best player of the 2010s whole career, and now wasting the first part of the best player of the 2020s, Shohei Ohtani's career. I hope they can make it right. Will this 1 year of trying and pushing for the playoffs help the Angels retain Shohei Ohtani, or will he remember those 4 years prior that they were not really trying to help him win, and they supported him but did not build a contender around him and Mike Trout? Let me know in the comments what you think below about that one. Definitely would like to hear your thoughts. When we go to third base here on the Solo Shot Sports Podcast, we like to throw it back to a moment in baseball history that is significant. And there was a lot of good ones. There was a no-hitter by Rube Marquard back in the 1900s. There was a early baseball game in the 1800s where Hall of Famer Sam Thompson hit a monster shot, and $1,000 King Kelly used a hidden ball to make it seem like he caught it, and they called him out. They said the ball was legit. But we talked about Hall of Fame weekend last year, and Scott Rowland and Fred McGriff getting their flowers, getting the love that they deserve, having amazing speeches. And the Phillies traded the 27-year-old third baseman Scott Rowland, along with reliever Doug Nickel, to the Cardinals in exchange for Placido Polanco, Bud Smith, and Mike Timlin. I don't know about you, but that seems like a win-win trade to me. Placido Polanco was part of that 2008 World Series team for the Phillies, and Scott Rowland was a big part of the reason the Cardinals made it to the World Series in 2004 and won the World Series in 2006. Mike Timlin ended up moving over to the Boston Red Sox and being part of the team that broke the curse. Just a win-win trade, a Hall of Famer getting moved on July 29th. Will a future Hall of Famer get moved today or sometime before the August 1st trade deadline? That is still yet to be seen. There's some guys that I think should be on the market, should be selling. The Tigers especially, I think, should have already moved some of their pitching. It's going to be interesting to see how the rest of this goes. But Scott Rowland, Hall of Fame third baseman, was traded from the Phillies to the Cardinals on this date in 2002. After leaving a 10-year, $140 million extension with the Phillies on the table. I know that was a big part of his induction was Philadelphia doesn't have any love for Scott Rowland, but Scott Rowland showed love to Philadelphia in his speech, and even if he didn't want to finish his career there, it was still a part of his baseball journey, and it ended on this date in 2002. Wrapping things up here, I know it's a quicker episode today. I have to catch a flight in a few hours, so definitely wanted to still get out there and keep this going for you guys. It's been awesome to see you guys supporting my dream. Thank you, Hugo, Will, everybody in the chat, spending part of your Saturday with me. It means a lot. Been a really fun journey. But we talk about Hall of Famers, and I talked about Chris Mad Dog Russo leaving Zach Greinke and Joey Votto off of his list of potential future Hall of Famers. Greinke being a slam dunk, Votto being a guy that will probably get in, but is not as obvious. And Joey Votto went on Chris Mad Dog Russo's show. I'm sure you have all seen the clip, but really just went off on this entire tangent of talking about them being small town ball players and Chris Mad Dog Russo being Mr. New York. And honestly, when Joey Votto gets inducted into the Hall of Fame, it's not an if, he will get inducted one day. I really hope that video resurfaces and plays just for everybody to see, because it is absolute gold. Joey Votto is a national treasure. He's one of those really quirky players that has had a lot of great moments over the years. And I'm so happy that he's getting a chance to have competitive baseball again with the Cincinnati Reds. Ellie De La Cruz, Matt McClain, all of those young players, Spencer Steer, etc. They have been awesome. And I really do think that the Reds, whether they trade Jonathan India or not for pitching, are going to be a really fun team to watch down the stretch. I said this about the Arizona Diamondbacks in the first half about how hot they were and how in a best of 5 or 7 series, them having the speed that they do could really be the difference between moving on or going home. And I think the Reds have that same kind of ability. Ellie De La Cruz, especially, being able to steal 3 bases on 2 pitches. So definitely go check out the Votto rant below. I'll leave a link to it for sure in the description. And I hope that all of you, no matter if you think Joey Votto is a Hall of Famer, if you think X player is a Hall of Famer, just appreciate them while you still get to watch them. Joey Votto, 350 home runs, only the second Red to do so. A guy that is an analytical darling at first base, an OPS machine, a guy with a high batting average, uses the Ted Williams book of hitting. Even if he doesn't make Cooperstown, which I think would be wrong, just a really fun player that's had a great career that we've all been lucky to follow. So I appreciate you guys as always for listening. You can follow me on Twitter at DominicMana44 and on TikTok at Solo Shot Sports. I can't wait to update you guys on August 1st with the final moves of the trade deadline, because there's always a few last minute deals. But until then, I will catch you guys next Solo Shot Saturday and see you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your weekend, everyone.